I don't think that the government is misleading us at all. I think that the number that comes out of BLS and the Department of Labor is very, very accurate. I need to make that very, very clear so I don't suddenly disappear. I need to make it home tonight.
So you don't disappear? Jeez. All right. We hope that wouldn't be a follow-up. Okay. Anyway, carry on.
But, no, I think it's the way the number's being used. So Gallup analytic teams, they were trying to figure out where the middle class was, looked into the GDP, and of course GDP, your audience is very astute. You know, it hasn't moved in 5 years. Yeah, blended rate of 5 years is about 2.2. So then we went to jobs. We said, well, I keep reading in good papers, the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, and the president tells us that unemployment's the best it's been in 10 years. Okay, there's one side of it. Our concern with our analysts is that it's very, very misleading, because what America really wants are full-time jobs.
Okay.
30-plus hours, but here's the point, the misleading point. The percent of full-time jobs in this country to the population is the worst it's been in 30 years. And although you have an astute audience, when you're at dinner, ask people about this. Nobody knows that number. And that's why the middle class is hollowed out.
So, Diane, first of all, what does that mean in terms of the true job picture? And what do you think the true measure of this labor market is?
Well, I think it's really important to get to the broader issue of the household survey. And I think there's an important point that 5.6% is not a decade ago 5.6% rate. Clearly it's not. We've gotten there for some of the wrong reasons, because people have literally stopped looking for jobs who are able and would like to work. And that's not something we want to discount those people. But in fact, the household survey does look at them, and it's why the Federal Reserve has said, you know what, we don't want to focus on the summary statistic that the unemployment rate is, because it is misleading right now in terms of how good the labor market is. It's better than it was. Gallup's own polls show that people are feeling better about the labor market and their ability to get a better job. That's good news, but it's not as good as it could be, and we've not regained the ground lost. And if you look at things like U6, I think it's really important that really is an 11.2% unemployment rate, down from 17 plus, but well above what it was before that. I think what we're seeing is that slack in the labor market and the underutilization out there, and the situation with the middle class, that's been going on since the 1980s, and it's been a steady decline in the middle class. What was interesting was when we hit 3.9% unemployment rates in the 1990s, had a lot more people participating. All you needed was a pulse to get a job. When the tide came in at that point in time, I think it's important that we saw all boats rise with the tide, not just the yachts. We saw the rowboats rise as well, and people were not as discontent at those kinds of unemployment rates.
Diane, I got to ask you a question. You talk about U6 and underemployment being at 11.2%. My sense is, and my calculations are, it's getting somewhere in the mid-9s before we actually start to see wage gain. Do we see? When do we see that happen?
We'd be lucky.
And do we see wage gain when that happens?
You know, that's a very good question. It's a moving target on wage gains. I think it's actually lower than that. And I think the unemployment rate has to fall well below 5%, given what we've seen to see wage gains.
And U6, I think you got to see back below 9%.